Well, I know you're wondering, well, why is he just standing around here, as per usual? We're gonna go do a quick flight from Nagoya to Tokyo, and in that time we can talk about the three major updates that we've seen for Flight Simulator 24. The first one is right in front of you. This is the NAMC YS-11. NAMC stands for Nihon Aircraft Manufacturing Corporation. It is the only commercial airliner designed and manufactured within Japan. It's kind of a regional jet type thing. It's a turboprop. It's exactly the kind of plane that I like. This was released alongside World Update 20 for Japan. Kind of makes sense that they go hand in hand. I really like this, so we can just kind of take a look at it together, get it up in the air, and then fly towards Tokyo, and in that time go over the Japan World Update that's just been released. I think the airplane looks really cool. It is exactly the kind of thing I like to fly. It is a 60-year-old design. They only made 182 of them. And yeah, let's see if we can get it started, get it on the runway, and get us into the air. There will be no smoking on this flight for you, unfortunately. I've done one flight with this so far. I really like it. It's a very simple design. There's not a lot you can do wrong. It does have, an autopilot that you can use. Which reminds me, I should turn on the radios. It also does come with an EFB. I will say one of the more useful pieces on the EFB itself is, you can kind of easily control everything surrounding the plane here, including the covers, and either add them or remove them. There is a little map on here, which is helpful. You can look at your charge. In the options, you do have the option to switch out your GPS unit. The default is the WT430. You can pick 650, 550, or Classic. If you switch to Classic, let's go ahead and look over at the panel. You truly do get a Classic system. Honestly, I think it's kind of cool. But let's leave it as the default for now. You can tell from the map that I did load in a flight plan. It is very basic. It is only about 30 minutes from here to Tokyo. And let's go ahead and see if we can get clearance to just depart straight out.
Dips 1-1IT_Bravo, Sierra Tango 28. Request taxi for takeoff. Departing straight out.
1-1IT_N Bravo Sierra Tango 28. Taxi to and hold short of runway tree 4 via taxiway Alpha Cross runway tree 4 Bravo. Contact tower on 122.7 when ready.
Taxiing. Hold short runway tree for using taxiway Alpha Cross runway tree 4 Bravo. Dips 1-1IT_N Bravo Sierra Tango 28.
I think we're just gonna go ahead and head straight up here. I will say like I said, I've only spent one flight with it, and one thing I noticed is the throttle control is a tiny bit finicky if you're using the Logitech G or Cytec Quadrant. most of the action happens within the 0 to 25% throttle range. What an odd taxi path. We're just gonna cross straight. It also has a lot of buttons labeled fire. I'm not sure if that should be concerning for everyone, but yeah, there's a lot of fire buttons in the center console and the top right there. Let's get ourselves to the runway. I will say, if I remember correctly, because I did start reading the Wikipedia page on this airplane itself, because I did not know it existed. Like I said, they only made 182 between the years of 1962 and I think 1971-ish. So it's an older design. Has room for 62 passengers, or 10,000 pounds of cargo. If you are planning on buying this, I will tell you up front that the only variant that you get is the passenger variant with 3 different liveries, and one that is called white. However, it is not truly white. It is kind of an off-white, dirty white, closer to gray. It is for sale in the Flight Simulator 2024 Marketplace store. I think I paid $13 for it, which I did not find that bad, but I know the default price is $20, which might be a little bit much. If you're into turboprops, this does fill a niche that I don't think we have a lot of planes in as it is, especially not high quality ones. But yeah, it's not free, that's for sure. Alright, we have our takeoff clearance. We're just gonna go ahead and get ourselves up on the runway. Before I take off, let me set my altitude and my heading. My goal is to just fly past Mount Fuji on our way to Tokyo and then go in through the bay. And during that time, I'll talk about the world update that they did for Japan, as well as the great PS5 news. Alright, we are ready to go. I'll turn off all the points of interest so you don't have to stare at them as we fly. And we are just going to go ahead and get it up to where it needs to go. And let's start by heading in this direction. I am just setting a heading direction because Mount Fuji is a fairly easy to spot natural landmark, so we shouldn't have too much trouble finding that. the hell?
1-1IT underscore N Bravo Sierra Tango 28. Leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Nagoya Tower. Dips 1-1IT underscore N Bravo Sierra Tango 28. Frequency change.
There we go. Alright, the radio's all set. Before we talk about the next piece, which is the massive update for Massive World Update, the good news that Flight Simulator 2024 is coming to PlayStation 5. I believe, if I remember correctly, that the early release for pre-orders is December 3rd. Ooh, that is one hell of a sound. There you go. The early release is December 3rd. The full release is, I believe, December 8th. So that is coming up really fast. I think it's cool. I think it'll bring a lot of new players to the game itself, which is always more than welcome. More people should feel welcome in this hobby. And beyond that as well, I think it's a pretty seamless transition for most players. People that are already capable of playing the game on Xbox with their controller, it should not be that difficult for PS5 players to do the same. I did see on the Flight Sim subreddit someone complained about the idea of how this was a betrayal from Asobo because they should be working on improvements and bug fixes. I don't necessarily disagree, but from my belief is they have more than one team, so surely they're working on both. I think this is a great opportunity to bring more people into the hobby, so I'm very happy about it. I'm very excited for it. And I don't even own a PS5. Now for the world update itself, I will preface it by saying after Sim Update 3, you're able to download files to your local system, which is fantastic. I have started doing that, and I did that for the Sim Update as well. I think that just makes sense. It gets you a slightly better quality of the terrain. So, now I will say, after the recent update, I believe it takes up around 450 gigabytes for me. So it is a lot of space. People that come from Flight Simulator 2020 will go like, oh, that's nothing, that's not so bad. People that are somewhat new to it or coming back to a game like this are going to be like, oh, that is a lot of space. But it's worth it. It definitely makes it easier. You can download the scenery, you can download the challenges, you can download the aircraft. I've downloaded some aircraft, not all of them, and I have downloaded all of the scenery because that's one area where my system struggles, especially with streaming all of that data. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out. So for the Japan update itself, this was just released, and it is a pretty massive update. The first part, which is the biggest part, is they updated the photogrammetry, that's a big word for Elmo, in a number of regions, and they say 23 areas of interest. Those 23 areas are one in Hiroshima, one in Kyoto, 3 in Osaka, 2 in Sapporo, and the largest one with 16 areas of interest is Tokyo itself. That makes sense. Tokyo is not only massive, but it is the #1 place. If you go onto your EFB right now and look to see how many players are on or around Tokyo, it is kind of insane out there. So it makes sense. Now, they said they added a bunch of points of interest, 67 total. You could kind of do the touristy thing, fly around. Osaka Castle is one of them. I'm going to mispronounce it, Fukuoka Tower, which is a massive seaside tower. There are a lot of things that were added. There are also 5 new airports, and I've tested out 2 of them. The first one is the Hokkaido Spaceport. It is kind of a cool place to go to. It is a single asphalt runway. I'm probably going to repeat this for every single one of them. All of them are single asphalt runways, every single one that they've added. The next one is Kitakyushu Airport, which is on a little island. That one is pretty cool. Rishiri Airport, which is next to, just on like a little volcanic island. That one has a relatively short runway. It's a lot of fun to fly out of that one. The code for it is RJER. Recommend going there. That's a really fun one. Seido Airport, RJSD, and Satsumu Iyojima Airport, RJX7. Again, I have probably mispronounced all of that, but at the same time I am also flying. They did also add some new challenges and activities. I'll call it activities. There's 3 discovery flights. One is in Chubusangaku National Park, which is pretty cool. The other 2 are city discovery flights in Kyoto and Sapporo, which I think is kind of their way of trying to draw people's attention to those regions. It makes a lot of sense that they would. They are underserved areas when it comes to the players that visit them. There are 2 new challenges. My understanding is that they're just strong wind challenges, strong wind landing challenges at the new airports that they added. There is a discovery flight that they added, which is basically around the Tokyo Bay. Honestly, nothing wrong with doing that one. That one seems like a lot of fun, especially if you're new to the region. That seems like a pretty good one. There is also 2 new challenges, the low altitude challenge on Tsushima Island, and then a rally race at the Seto Naika National Park. Those are pretty cool. There's like a massive bridge there, so it's cool to fly around it. All in all, the long and short of it is they basically updated the entire country of Japan, which is pretty cool. The last one I didn't mention was the Bush Challenge. That one I think is pretty awesome. If you're into that kind of thing, honestly, I would just call it a field trip. It is flying from Mount Fuji to Mount Yote. Mount Fuji is around a little over 12,000 feet. Yote is about half that size at like 60, I think it was 6,500 feet tall. Someone feel free to fact check me on that. It's about half the size of Mount Fuji, but it looks the same, with the white peaks and everything. So that's pretty cool. So that should be everything that's in here. So at this point, I hope that's giving you some information on it. I'm going to go ahead and shut up and fly us over to Tokyo and hopefully be able to land this plane because, like I said, I've only flown it once before. And yeah. But so far I like this. And I think they've done a pretty wonderful job with how they've built out this world. So from here on out, enjoy the flight. And if you are curious, that giant mountain in front of us is indeed Mount Fuji. for those that noticed the delayed reaction as the plane loaded in, or at least the cockpit loaded in, I did not download this locally, so you will see some delay sometimes if you spend enough time outside of the plane. I think it's because the lighting in the interior changes. It has to reload it from scratch or stream it again from scratch. It's definitely interesting. Another good reason to start downloading most of the planes that you do intend to fly regularly.
Tree 2, contact Tokyo Center on 125.6. Good day.
for Eva Tree 2.
Right in front of us is Mount Fuji. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so that's cool. Its height should be 12,000 feet and change. I think 400 feet. We're set for 13,000 feet, so we should be completely safe passing over it and taking a look. Behind it as well, you will start to see the outline of the bay itself and of Tokyo.
Center.
I believe that is an approximate 80 nautical miles to get across the bay and then fly back around it to the airport. This is where I'm really starting to hold the high altitude settings correctly, but it looks like we are more than over the top of it. So one of the bush flight challenge that they added is to fly around approximately where at Mount Fuji, all the way north across this island. Also, it's very campus is going to be the bay that Tokyo is built around. The challenge from Mount Fuji all the way to Mount Yote, I'll give you an approximation. It should be to up there. Yep. Is about 450 nautical miles. So if you're interested in doing that, that is a pretty fun little flight across the main island. It's a lot of pretty views along the way. That is what we're doing. As we start to approach the greater Tokyo area, I'll start dropping some altitude. This massive area in front of us that is taken up by Tokyo has about 37 million people living there. That's pretty hard to comprehend, that many people. So, in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and start dropping our altitude. presuming that the audio stutter from time to time is A, because it's a very busy area, and B, my system is probably struggling a little bit with it. Way out in the distance there, you can see Tokyo Airport. I'll zoom in a little bit. It's on the edge of that island there. You can see a runway, or at least the runway lights. Coincidentally, that is the runway we also picked to land, except from the other side. That is runway 22. To get there, we're gonna have to circle the bay and then come back around. Now, I will say that this airport has always been very busy because it handles like 90 million passengers a year. But ever since the update, there are definitely a lot more people flying through in the sim as well, which is kind of cool. It starts to reflect more how busy it is in real life as well. As night starts to fall, it is kind of cool to see all of the lights come on. there you have it, proof that the lights also work. Also, in case you're wondering, the seat is indeed adjustable. I'm going to go ahead and set it all the way back. The airport is behind us now, so we're gonna go ahead and finish crossing the bay here, overfly some of the city, and then turn towards the airport and see if we can land. We're all the way down to about 1,000 feet now. It is a very pretty city. An interesting thing here is that the temperature knobs are on the co-pilot side, so they are in control of the AC. Start making a slow turn. You can tell that there's a little bit of stutter sometimes. That's mostly my system just struggling with the massive amount of things that it has to render at this point because it's such a busy, high traffic area. There's an insane amount of lights. Insane amount of objects. To make it around that big tower. That's a little far out of the way. Go ahead and start turning to make it into the airport. It is probably worth doing a helicopter flight scene tour of the city at some point. us there. So I'm going to go ahead and take over and get us on the ground. My radio is not giving me the approach or tower. That's just a bug in the communication panel. So we're just going to land without clearance. It's completely fine. What's the worst that could happen? That was not too bad. Hilariously though, the reverse throttle would shut the engines themselves down. I'm not sure that is as intended, but it worked. Alright, well, we've at least landed it safely, and hopefully we got to get a good view of the new NAMC YS-11. I like this thing. I'll be flying it more for sure. I like the updates they've made to Tokyo. I like the updates they made to Japan. So yeah, thanks for watching, and have a great day.